Hi, welcome back. My name is Rekhan. In today's session, we're going to look at mixed modeling scenarios in Datasphere. Let's take a look at this picture. So we got a Datasphere tenant, and we have Datasphere application and HANA Cloud running on the same instance. In scenario one, we're going to consume HANA Cloud objects in Datasphere space. So we're going to read tables and calculation views in Datasphere space as local tables and consume them or use them in data flows. There is no data integration required and no data movement happens in this scenario. Let's take a look at the configuration steps in detail. We're going to need Business Application Studio for developing native HANA Cloud objects like HDI container objects. Tables and calculation views are built inside the DB module of Business Application Studio. This is a development tool. It's part of BTP. Once we create the artifacts in Business Application Studio, we deploy them and they're going to get deployed inside the database. What we're going to do, we're going to put the database identified in Business Application Studio project file so that the developments happen in Business Application Studio will go and sit in the same HANA Cloud instance where Datasphere application running. For that, we also need to grant DWC consumer role that is going to give the access on HDI container objects to the Datasphere. Let's put all these steps together and do it in the system. We'll understand how it is done. Let's move on to the configuration. So the configuration starts here. Before proceed with any of these steps, we must create a ticket with SAP to make a instance mapping of HANA Cloud to Datasphere. For that, we will have to provide the tenant ID, org ID, and space ID of BTP and Datasphere tenants. Once a ticket is submitted with SAP, a mapping will be completed and we will get an acknowledgement from SAP to continue further. Once this prerequisite step is completed, then we will start with BTP Cockpit by creating a DB module in Business Application Studio. Business Application Studio is a service or an application instance on BTP. So we're going to invoke BAS in BTP. And then we start creating a DB module project. You can start doing it using a template. So I created a simple DB module project to show this use case. As soon as I create my DB module project, I'm going to go to the MTA YAML file and look at the descriptor file configuration. The first step, what we're going to do here is to update the database ID mapping, which we don't do in general native HANA cloud or on-premise developments, because we're going to specifically point to a HANA cloud instance, which is outside of your Datasphere. In this case, since we are pointing to Datasphere ID, a database specific HANA cloud ID of Datasphere, so we're going to need that ID, database ID from Datasphere. So accessing the Datasphere, and then go to the system and then get to the about, and this is your database ID. Once you have the database ID, you can come back to the Business Application Studio and then provide that as a parameter in DB module. So that is going to be something like this. This is a new configuration parameter that needs to be added as part of Datasphere HANA Cloud deployments. Once this is added, and then we must create a role on the HDI container so that the objects that are created inside the HDI container can be accessed by Datasphere. So for that, there is another object that I created here in the configuration. There is a file called HDB role. Open with text editor. You can see this role is granting the select privilege on the HDI container that we are building here. And there is another role that is to be also created for grantable option. Once these two steps are done here in Business Application Studio, deploy this by clicking on this deploy button in the bottom. And a HDI container is created and deployed in the HANA Cloud instance of Datasphere. At that point, we can go to the space management again here in Datasphere, access my space where I am going to work, navigate to the database access, HDI containers access, then you will see a plus icon enabled, and then you would be able to select the container that needs to be assigned. Since I already assigned here, it's not showing there. If I don't have it, it will be shown. This is the container that I built just now in Business Application Studio. And here onwards, you can consume the objects in HDI container in Datasphere. For example, if I wanted to create a data flow, I can go to the data builder and then start creating a new data flow, and we'll be able to access the data objects from HANA Cloud. Could it be a calculation view or a table was created as part of the deployment of HDI container? So we're going to see that now. Going to flows and create a new data flow. Click on sources. You can see a new connection is established here, and this connection name is the container schema name DSP hybrid _1. And you can expand that. You can see the table and the calculation view that I created in the HDI container. You can also confirm that by going in here and just do the calculation view. This is the calculation view in the table here. You can drag and use them in the Datasphere developments of data flows. So with that, we conclude that we are able to consume HANA Cloud objects in Datasphere space without integrating the data into the Datasphere. That's the end of part 1. For detailed training on the Datasphere course, please reach out sorumpalli@gmail.com. Thank you. Bye for now.